Hey, what is up, folks? This is Johnny Bnq coming back at you with another episode of the Bnq and Goof show. Huge week for Philadelphia sports this week, guys. Especially this weekend. Let's get to the biggest news first. Obviously, the Eagles winning in fantastic fashion. Yesterday afternoon or evening or whatever it was. Yesterday they beat the what are they called? The San Francisco 49ers. Beat them 31-7. Of course, it sucked to see that the 49ers were, depleted and less than, 100% or whatever. Obviously they had Brock Purdy get hurt in the first quarter. Had to put in Josh Johnson. And Brock Purdy, of course, is already the third string quarterback, so it's hard to say, what that game looks like if they're 100%. Then Brock Purdy comes back and, plays injured, which, kudos to him or whatever, playing hurt. But he also had, he didn't really have the ability to throw the ball really at all, more or less, so... and that sucks to see, but again, it is what it is, and it was a great win for the Eagles, 31-7. Their defense played great, their offense played great. Being able to score 31 points against arguably the best defense in the NFL, not other than us. But so great game. Excited to see how we do. Going up against Kansas City. Kansas City had a crazy game against Cincinnati. So many twists and turns in that game, and situations where Cincinnati could have won, situations where Kansas City could have won, and they made mistakes. But I've been saying this all year. I think we have a really good chance against the Chiefs. I think we match up relatively well against them. I think this will be a good matchup for us. And I think we win this. If I gave a prediction, I think it'd be 38-21. Something along those lines, maybe 34-21. But again, it's we'll see in 2 weeks. You don't want to get too overconfident and too ahead of ourselves. We still gotta play the game. But obviously I like our chances, and I might go to that game. There's some reasonably priced tickets I might attend, depending on how things go. But anyway, other than the Eagles last night, yesterday, it wasn't yesterday. It was Saturday night. The Flyers beat Winnipeg 4-0. They had a great game, and Sunday on ABC, the Sixers made a great comeback against the Denver Nuggets, coming back from double digit down. They're down the entire game. I don't remember exactly how many points they were down, but it's a great comeback against the Nuggets on Saturday for the Sixers. And it was a good win against the Jets for the Flyers, because they had lost a couple in a row, including an overtime loss to the I think it was the Kings, and then they also lost to the Wild. Both those were 1-point losses, and the Kings game loss was in overtime. But, the Flyers are turning things around a little bit. I don't know if they'll have the ability to really turn it up later in the season and contend for a playoff spot. But I guess we'll see how it goes. Because, they won 4-0 against the Jets, but I watched the first quarter of that game. I didn't watch the entire game because my ESPN Plus was kind of messing up. But anyway, I noticed that they really didn't control the puck all that well in the first quarter or first period or whatever it is. They were outshot a lot. This is the very beginning of the game, so, maybe it went totally different after I stopped watching it. But, I'm not the biggest hockey expert. But I know that the more shots you get on goal, the more you're going to make. The more shots you take, the more you're going to make. more or less, that's, those are two things that correlate. So, and controlling it in the opponent's zone is a big thing. That's a big thing in hockey and soccer is, controlling the ball or puck or whatever, and, getting shots, not just shots, but shots on goal, like shots that, have a reasonable chance of, getting past the goalie or whatever. But yeah, things are really looking up for all the, Philly professional teams right now. Last week, Drexel's women's basketball team had a great week this week too. They had 2 wins against, I believe it was Hofstra and, oh man, I'm blanking on the Elon. Yeah, Hofstra and Elon, both double-digit wins, big wins for the Lady Dragons. Which I don't actually even know if they're called the Lady Dragons or they just call them the Dragons also. It doesn't really matter. But they got 2 big wins. They're up to 15-5 now. Doing great. But it was, it's not all positives. Drexel's men's basketball team lost 2 games last week. To North Carolina A&T and also Elon. Yeah, those are 2 opponents that they had in common this week. But it was, it's not great for them, and they're not, having a great season. They're 12-10 now, I think, or something like that. It's not great. It's not ideal. It's not, what you want to see. We're hoping that they can, get things together, vie for a, what's it called? Spot in, March Madness or whatever. But really, realistically, the only chance they'd have is winning their conference tournament, which is still, it's going to be tough because there's, some really tough teams in their conference. So, it's going to be hard for them. I don't know if they'll be able to do it, but we'll hope and we'll wait and see. Drexel's wrestling team got a win this week, 31-6 against Brown. It's great to see from them. They're having a pretty solid season. They're about 6-4 in duels this season. I don't know if they have any guys that are ranked. I can't think of any off the top of my. Well, I think there's one guy I think it's in the top 25, but I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to check that. I don't know for sure off the top of my head, but Drexel's tennis. Men went 2-0 this week. Ladies went 1-1. Lost against Rutgers and win against St. Francis Brooklyn, which I've never even heard of that school before. No offense to them, but their men's team won against. Who did they win against? It was Villanova, and they also won against the same St. Francis Brooklyn team. So both those teams off to a 2-1 start. And honestly, I don't really know much about tennis. I don't know if there's even a team championships or if it's just individual or whatever. Because I know there was a bunch of individual tournaments that happened earlier in the season that I didn't really follow. But, so things are kind of looking, up and down for Drexel sports overall. There's some good spots and there's some bad spots, but, hopefully all those teams finish strong. But, the Eagles are really our number one concern right now. They're in the Super Bowl, a chance to win it all. And, I got to say, before the season, I didn't really think, of course you want them to win the Super Bowl. You always want your team to win the Super Bowl. But, before the season, I honestly didn't really have them pegged as a Super Bowl contender. I thought they'd be like a 6 or 7 seed, tops. Lose in the first, maybe second round of the playoffs. And I thought that was the best case scenario. But, and they ended up being the number 1 seed, and they ended up in the Super Bowl, and they dominated both their playoff games. And people say they had an easy record, but, they just beat every team in front of them like a drum, more or less. So, there's really not anything else you can do other than that. But, some great stuff you love to see. The that's really all I got this week. I wanted to do a quick episode, but I guess it's still regular time, about 10 minutes anyway, so much for that. But thanks for listening. Thanks for the support or whatever. Make sure you like this video. Subscribe if you haven't already. Check out all the links to our social media in the description. Follow us on Twitter. Follow the Patreon. Buy our merch. Follow the blog. Blah, blah, blah. All this stuff. It doesn't really take that much time to do. And it doesn't cost you anything unless you buy merch, I guess. But, it would mean a whole lot, and I would appreciate it. But, again, thanks for listening. Let's go Birds, win the Super Bowl. Let's go Sixers, and let's go Flyers, and let's go Drexel Dragons. Life rips. Bing bong.